The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program.
They've been used to a system where they've been told when to wake up, when to go to bed, when to eat, when to do this, when to do that. So their whole life is structured for them. And then when they come out, they all of a sudden don't know what to do.
State of Michigan 751769. Charged with 5 felonies, 3 for breaking and entering, 1 for home invasion, and another for manufacturing and delivering marijuana. Current status, probation.
You know, I had a pretty good childhood. My mom, she always took me to church and stuff, and then when I got to be older, I don't know, man, there was just always something about me. I was just drawn towards, the drugs, the partying, violence, things like that. I used to play a lot of sports in high school and stuff, and then I started doing drugs and drinking all the time, and it was one of those things that I still look back on and I feel horrible.
In 2013, Alpena native Nicole McNeil went on a major crime spree to rob banks at gunpoint. The then 25-year-old acted alone, shocking herself and family. Nicole's kids, younger siblings, and husband lived just 13 miles west of Detroit. Before she knew it, news headlines surfaced and the cops came knocking on the door.
I'm about to tell the entire city about my criminal history, about my life, and that could either go one of two ways. Everyone could really hate me and not sense that I've changed at all and been rehabilitated, and that would be the worst thing that came from this interview, because I'm really trying to inspire some change for somebody. I want someone to see that it's possible, that I did it, that I came from the lowest of the low after a 5-year prison sentence, and I want to show them that in 85 days I was able to make a home for my kids. So it's nothing special, but it's comfortable and it's home for them. That's Sienna. She's 9 years old. She was 4 when I went away. So we've kind of just been getting to know each other again. They live with me 5 days a week now. I just got custody of them last month.
Nicole faced 5 bank robbery charges. 3 were dropped for lack of evidence. The remaining 2 charges landed this young mother at the Women's Huron Valley Correctional Facility in Ypsilanti. Almost a year had gone by between Nicole's first bank robbery and her very last sting.
We were in Metro Detroit. In 2013, I went on a major crime spree where I robbed several banks at gunpoint. At this certain moment in my life, my son also needed a surgery that Medicaid wasn't willing to cover. And I needed to come up with the cash for that. But my husband is hardworking, and there was just never enough. Things were spread way too thin. So when I was first arrested, he was in denial, complete denial. He had no idea that any of this had taken place. So it was really hard for him. He, I'm sure, suffered from like a great deal of embarrassment. And my daughters, that was probably really hard for them to have to say to everyone too. I was literally living a double life. People were shocked when they found out that that is what I had been doing. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and for the first time in my life, I decided that I was going to commit some crimes, and for whatever reason, I decided that bank robbery was less of a personal crime. I felt like that I was targeting maybe corporate America so that I wouldn't be hurting an individual per se. I don't feel that way now. Now I know that I have some victims, and I know that in their place of work that their life is changed forever. When someone walks into your place of employment with a gun and sticks it in your face, your life changes. And I have a great deal of shame and guilt and remorse for that, because I really hurt those people without being able to recognize that in the moment. It wasn't until later, until I had had years of prison under my belt and treatment, that I figured out that I really had victims and I impacted their lives probably for the rest of them. And if they even can still work in their same capacity, which I don't know that I would be able to, so.
Hopelessness, withdrawing from social support, and suicidal thoughts are symptoms of adjustment disorder, a diagnosis Nicole still fights to overcome.
I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder walking out the doors. It was slightly difficult for me. I had some mentoring in prison while I was there. I did 18 months of Celebrate Recovery. It's like a Christ-centered support group, Bible teaching type of thing. So I did that. So I had a little bit of backing from them while I was there. I didn't feel comfortable in anyone's home. I didn't want to go in any of the bedrooms. I wanted to sleep on the living room floor on just the mattress. And that lasted about the first 30 days. So it was a little rough coming home. I had a lot of love, but mentally I just wasn't there yet. But I think having like that family support that you're really familiar with and just feeling loved and accepted back into your home environment, that definitely made a difference for me. I couldn't have done it without the love and support of everyone around me.
What you're about to hear is an email Nicole wanted us to share about her recovery. This photo was taken of me in one of my darkest moments. It is actually a still photo from a videotaped suicide and confession letter to my children, husband, and family. This was after one of the first news stories in Crime Stoppers aired, and I first learned that my crime could carry life sentences on conviction. I hadn't slept in days, and when I did, I would wake up in sheer panic, crying. I feel like I need to show people it wasn't all rainbows and glitter. I look like I have my life together today, and for the most part I do, but I still struggle with mental illness and the side effects from the medicine I am legally bound to take in order to stay free. I think people can relate and see that true recovery is possible by seeing where I was and who I am now. It didn't go lower or higher than me. I was where a lot of people are now. I want to inspire them to change and see that a light does exist at the end of the road.
All of this wasn't done in vain, because some good did end up coming out of it, and I rehabilitated. I would never commit a crime. You would never catch me even roll a stop sign at this point, or, you know, steal a pack of gum from a gas station. It's just not who I am. It's not inside of me, and that I'm just sorry. I wasn't in my right frame of mind, and I regret stealing a part of their life.
Doug Bliss is no ordinary paint shop owner. While many may reject the idea of hiring felons, the man behind the mask welcomes them into his workplace. Some would consider it risky to employ former inmates, but what keeps people like Doug inspired to help the underdog?
If you try to put them into your system of thinking or the outside world's culture, they won't fit automatically. And the reason why is they were in prison, all right? And they went to prison because they didn't fit beforehand. If you think about this, if you can take one person who's been institutionalized off the street and bring them into our society, let's say a drug dealer, okay? He doesn't go back to the drugs and doesn't go back to dealing them. So this has a compounding generational effect. In other words, I'm helping our streets, our society, and I'm helping children, I'm helping parents, I'm helping families, because this drug dealer's not dealing anymore. And he has all the connections when he gets out. He knows how to do it. He knows the game. And it might be a month before he's caught, or a year, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years before he's caught doing it again. And if that's the case, how many lives has this individual destroyed? So this is it's a very proactive thing to do, because anyone who will take the time, and if we can take 1, 2, or if we get 4 out of 10 that come back into society, we've literally changed the trajectory of hundreds of lives and who they would influence for the negative. And I believe that. So that's why I do what I do. And maybe I'm a fool. That's okay. The most heartbreaking thing is, you know, these guys, they get out. I'm going to tear up a little bit here. I'm sorry. I didn't know I felt this emotional about it. But what they'll do is they get out of their cell, and then they create a cell wherever they live. And, you know, what does it take to get people out of prison? Because prison's an outward manifestation of what really is going on in their heart. I got a passion for this. So many hurting people. And there's hope. There's real hope. And we get busy and we just don't take the time to see it.
You can suit up and face your past, or you can bottle up inside and never forgive yourself for the things you've done wrong. But if you want to move on, it becomes easier when support is right at your side to guide you out of trouble. Guys like James had an easygoing childhood until the streets lured him into a world of drugs and alcohol.
And I was just hanging out with some friends, you know, and they decided that's what they wanted to go and do. I didn't think it was a good idea, but at that point, you know, I was so intoxicated that I was just like, whatever.
The school hallways are like street corners. Within a minute's time, drugs and money could pass from one pair of hands to the other. This was James Tanner's freshman year.
For a long time, I wanted to be a drug dealer. You know, that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't ashamed of it. I was proud of it, and that, you know, that's crazy, you know? I mean, who grows up and says, you know, I want to grow up to be a drug dealer, you know? But that's kind of the thing I was interested in, you know? And I had a very bad problem with alcohol. That was my way to cope with all my problems, you know, and I started that at a very young age, you know. I would have a problem with a girlfriend or something, and I would go and get intoxicated, you know, and then I'd wake up the next day, I wouldn't feel much better about it, so I'd get drunk again, and then I created this perpetual cycle that when something's not going right in my life, I'm gonna get drunk or use drugs, and that habit was a very hard habit to break.
James' parents had to figure out what to do with their son. That's when he found himself enrolled in military school.
The military school was a very good place. It seems like for that period of my life, every time I was put in a structured environment, I would do very good. When I got out and I was all on my own without the structure, it didn't take me very long to revert to my old, you know, drinking, partying, selling drugs, and then, you know.
You didn't think what you were doing was wrong?
To be honest.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I lived that lifestyle, got in and out of jail multiple times, and I never thought I was doing anything wrong till I gave my heart to Jesus. Till I gave my whole life to Jesus. That's when I seen, wow.
So you're telling me you thought everything you did was okay?
I thought everything that I was doing, and you probably think this sounds insane, but I thought most of the things I was doing as far as the drug use, the partying and things like that.
And the selling of drugs?
Yeah, I thought that was just normal teenager, young adult, college kid type of stuff, man. And it sounds crazy, right? That sounds crazy. Yeah, absolutely. To me, saying it sounds crazy. And it just goes to show you how lost I was, man. And you know, I'm just very thankful my life isn't like that today. And you know, for people whose lives are like that, it doesn't have to be like that. There is a hope, man. There is a hope.
Unlike Nicole, who changed her life after one prison sentence, James used to be what some would call a frequent flyer.
When I got out, I could always remember thinking in my head, this is what I would think. Oh man, I've been in here for so long. When I get out, it's not going to take very much and I'll be high. And that's what I would look forward to. But for the majority of my sentence, I'm trying to serve God. And my addiction was so strong, it had such a strong pull on me that it was like I was consumed, man. That was all I cared about, was getting high, and that was it.
James had enough faith to believe that someone would come along and give him another chance to get it right.
A lot of it came from, you know, you can only go down the same road for a while, and it's like, man, you know, there's got to be more. There's got to be more life, you know. And, you know, I was gotten to the Alpena drug court program, and I was having a really rough time when I first got into it. And, you know, I just thank God that I met Doug Bliss. He was put into my life. He gave me a place to work, gave me employment. He mentored me. He worked with me. He constantly told me, I'm not giving up on you, James. You know, you can do this. You know, he started out as a mentor, and you know, today he's my best friend. You know, and he's an amazing individual, and you know, I hope that I can be that person for somebody else. I hope that I can be that person that says, hey, I'm not giving up on you. I'm going to help you. We're going to get through this. You know, that's what I want.
The National Reentry Resource Center says 95% of people sitting behind bars at state prisons will be released back to their communities at some point. When that future arrives, some offenders will return to a life of crime. Research shows 66% of prisoners will be arrested again. This is called recidivism. But if a returning citizen decides to change their life around, will anyone believe them? Will anyone give them a second chance? These are the questions 1.6 million incarcerated men and women must consider. In order to get a clearer picture of Michigan's recidivism rate, we drove several hours from Alpena to meet with Chris Gautz in his Lansing office. Chris is the Public Information Officer for the Michigan Department of Corrections. Several times a month, he spends time with business owners to connect them with incarcerated men at Jackson State Prison.
Prisoners are selected from around the state. They apply. They have to show an aptitude and interest in a particular trade. They have to be ticket-free, which means basically that they've been a good prisoner. They haven't been getting into fights or having any other sort of misconducts in prison. So sort of a model prisoner. And then they also have to be roughly within 18 months of release. That way we're not teaching them something and then 5 years goes by and the technology changes and then they get released and their training is no good to them. So what they learn, they're going to learn right before they get out, and that way it's top of mind, it's fresh, and it's the current technology that they're going to be going into. We don't take leftovers or handouts of old machines from companies. We buy the top of the line stuff. So the same machines that they're running currently in prison, if they get out of prison and they start the next week in a company, they're going to be working on the same machines. For a while, I think employers were very hesitant to look at returning citizens or people with felonies on their records. They would just kind of dismiss them out of hand. But now there's so few, the unemployment rate is so low that employers are not willing to take a shot and look at those who are returning citizens because they just need the qualified workers. You know, for far too long, employers would say, you know, I just don't have any work for anybody. Now they're saying, I've got all kinds of jobs, but I can't find enough people to fill them that are qualified. And so we're creating this pipeline of talent that are coming out of our prisons that can run CNC machines, that can be, be welders, that can, be master mechanics coming straight out of prison and going to work at any dealership or, muffler shop, brake shop, as well as going out to work on homes, building homes, running the electrical, running the plumbing. And we can train them all through this vocational village. These are people who, they come early, they stay late, they'll take any job, they'll do any task that's asked of them because they're so gracious and thankful to have given that chance, because for so long they've been passed over. And for so long in their lives they had been judged by the one mistake in their life and not what they can do with their lives going forward.
The vocational villages offer 6 trades to male inmates: carpentry, plumbing, electrical, automotive technology, CNC machinery, and welding.
I'm a tutor in a class now.
You're a tutor in a class? What's
Yep,
the
so I
class?
just help train. I train in the CNC and robotics.
I am studying to be a master technician. You get 8 certifications through the program. You're state certified. Right now I have 4, waiting on my 5th.
Whoa, that's a lot.
I've been here almost a year.
This will keep me busy when I get out there with nothing else to do. I've always got something to do on this, being a tradesman.
Well, I'm responsible for ensuring that all the prisoners that come into the vocational village are screened properly. We have to make sure that the skilled trade that we're going to place them into is compatible with the county that they're going to be returning to once they get out into the community, because we don't want to have them go through the skilled trades and get into a program that they're not going to be successful in their county when they go back. We want them to get employment. So that's one thing that I have to do on the front end, but there's a committee actually that meets in Lansing, and we screen prisoners before they come here to the program. We call a 90-day window, where 90 days before they're going to be released out into parole, myself and the team from the vocational village, some of the staff that work here, our institutional parole agent, the principal, myself, our employment counselors, we get together and we go through all of the gentlemen that are going to be paroling out. We look at the counties that they're going to, we look at the trade that they're working towards completing, and then we try to find gainful employment for them before they get out. And this was a very old building that has been renovated in the last year to a vocational village. As you can see, we have a lot of very good equipment here, and that's important for when the employers come in here. We want them to see the types of machinery that these guys are learning on, because a lot of this is what they're going to see out in the community, and the employers, that's important to them to know.
Yes, so what they get to do is they get to actually do the same curriculum that they would do if they went to Fanuc Robotic in Rochester Hills, Michigan. They can go through the same curriculum, and at the end they take a test that makes sure that we know and they know that when they get into a company, they can hit the ground running and perform any of the same tasks that their guys at the company would be doing, from palletizing to lifting heavy equipment to robotic welding. All that is the skills that they're actually learning in here.
I've always strived to do better, but I've never had any formal training like this. So this has been awesome because I've taken it to an extent out there, and I really want to get back out and incorporate everything else I've learned in here, because I've learned all the technicalities, all the right terminology. I'm just 100-fold a lot better and stronger at what I do now.
Yeah, we're doing a flag that's made out of scrap wood that people are throwing away, so I decided to do something with it and make it a flag out of it, out of scrap natural wood, and put coins in there, like tokens. It slides up in there, hangs on a wall with a door on it.
This is a 2013 Focus. The rear main seal's out of it. It's a common problem with them. Just waiting for the parts to come in and replace it.
How does it make you feel knowing that you're getting this much education inside of a prison?
It's good because normally, before I came over here to the program, I was just sitting around doing nothing. You don't get nothing. They just do your time and push you out the door. So this is real good.
According to the Prison Policy Institute, the state of Michigan locks up more people per 100,000 residents than the UK, Portugal, and Luxembourg combined. Over 250,000 men and women are either locked up or otherwise under Michigan's criminal justice system.
Step over this way. Jake is actually making coins right here. So he's laid these pieces out, and now what he's going to do is going to engrave it's going to say repair, and then it's going to be labeled 1, and there's going to be a hole in it. So this is a tag. So when people come take a tool, or I'm not actually sure what these are doing, but these will represent some tool or something we take out of the tool crib, okay? So right now he's been writing the G&M code on the CNC machine.
You can code?
That's exactly what he just put in here. So I'm just here to kind of help troubleshoot when he gets into a trouble. So he's got it just about finalized right now. So he's setting up his work offset. He's gonna set up his tool height offsets, and then he's about ready to run. So it's kind of neat, he's ready to go.
Just 20 years ago, the recidivism rate peaked at nearly 50% in the state. The latest rate is based on offenders who return to prison after 3 years. For Michigan, that number represents progress. The decline in recidivism is due to what the state calls offender success. It's a model aimed to educate and provide prisoners with opportunities behind bars and outside the concrete walls.
And you know what you're doing when you get out. You got a good head start.
Hopefully they think that this is actually doing something for us. I feel it is.